Much of my work is helping my clients simply do a better job of imagining more possibilities for their careers and for their businesses. What I've found is that lack of imagination is a major barrier to accomplishing what you can accomplish. And even though I think of myself as someone with a great imagination, lots of ideas, I pay attention to my insights. I am on top of my impulses. I'm prepared to take action on those things that come to me. Sometimes I'm stumped on how to progress and how to take a business challenge or a career challenge and move it forward. And I would say that if this is a problem for me, it's a problem for many others. So I give a lot of attention to that issue when it comes to working with clients. You'll find that many folks have difficulty because they're so focused on what everyone else thinks. And that is one major barrier in terms of imagination and really making something happen to higher levels. So they need to take a poll. They need to see, well, what do you think? And what do you think? And what should I do? So they haven't reached a stage where they are comfortable with their own thoughts, and they're not willing to say, look, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm trying, and let's see what happens. Let's see how it works. There have been so many things in my career that I just simply tried. I said, okay, what would happen if I did a direct mail campaign and I sent it out to sell a product? What would happen if I started my seminar business on the weekend while I worked in corporate America? What would happen if I left a company and decided that I was going to partner with a consultant who became a friend and look at the evolution of technology and find a way to impact a major industry in the process? Well, what I found that happened in each one of those instances is I succeeded. And I succeeded because I had the willingness to go with not having everything all laid out and having some imagination in the process. I didn't take a poll on any one of those things. What I did essentially is think about it over time, sometimes a short period of time. But because I wanted to achieve a particular goal, I decided that that was something that was important to me and I had to do. So there's a link between imagination and commitment, imagination and a desire to really fulfill an ambition. The other thing that I see as a very big barrier for people is this idea of copying what everyone else is doing. So many people, their idea of going into a business or going into an industry or doing something is saying, oh, I want to do what this person's doing. I want to do what that person is doing. Oh, I see you've done this and I want to do what this person is doing. This is an example of how someone has shut down their own creativity. And very much like a person who needs to take a poll, they only are compelled to do something if someone else is doing it. It's more of a competitive thing. Or maybe it's a keeping up with others thing. So you want to get that out of your system, so to speak, and be a trailblazer. Be willing to say, this is something I'm going to do because I think it's a great idea. This is something I'm going to do because I want to try it. This is something I want to do because I can do it. This is something that maps to my broader goals and my broader ambitions, so I'm going to give it a shot. The other thing I see that is very common, and you see this a lot in business today. You used to see it a lot in major companies, but you certainly see it in all kinds of businesses now. Here's the scenario. We've become so specialized. You can go on the internet and you can find anything you want to know. If you want to know, how to cultivate a rock garden, how to build a planetarium, how to do anything you want to know, you can find it right away. And so what happens is people are very specific to their interests and their needs. Now, this is another example of how lack of imagination can be a problem. So let's say you're out there, you're marketing yourself, and you run into a company of some kind and you say, hey, I could do something with you. I could help you in your marketing. I could help you with your operational staff. I can help you do this, that, or the other. One of the first things they might wonder is, well, have you ever worked with any other construction companies? Or have you worked with any other restaurants? And if you say no, for some people that's a disqualifier. They won't be able to look at your ideas, your experience, your expertise, your energy, all of those things. They won't be able to look beyond that. And so we're in a world where everyone wants you to be very, very, very specific. And sometimes that is just unrealistic. Not that things that we accomplish in life and things we pursue are always realistic, and that we should be looking for things that are, quote, realistic. But I think we should be more imaginative and think, what would happen if we put this person with this person? You're doing a concert. What would happen if I put this violinist with this jazz musician? What would happen if I put this comedian with this spoken word person? What would happen if I put this person from one part of the country with a certain perspective and brought them together somewhere else? Some of the great film festivals and entertainment festivals and culture festivals have figured out that in doing that, you're going to excite people, and you're going to make them look at things that they hadn't looked at before. So that's an example of how imagination can be used, and how important it is to go beyond this idea of having to be so specific in order to accomplish something. Look, there are so many possibilities for us in how we market ourselves, how we market our businesses, how we grow our endeavors, and how we do it. It's all up to the way we decide to move forward and how we respond to the feedback that we get, whether we will try something, whether we will give it time, whether we feel good doing it, and whether we will trust our own imagination in the process. The Disney Corporation has built a franchise around imagination. And I think it's worth looking at in your own career and in your own business. What would happen if I made this thing bigger? What would happen if I added something else to this? What would happen if I took something away? What would happen if I partnered with another organization? What would happen if I did something local? What would happen if I did something hyper-local? What would happen if I did something that no one else has done before? I'll give you this quick anecdote. In the 1980s, a friend of mine ran a great graphic design firm in Chelsea in New York City. And he had a beautiful loft space. I used to always come in there and I would say, George, this is incredible. You should be doing X million a year. And he would look at me and he'd say, oh, bless you. Thank you for, for saying that. Well, it was a beautiful space, but this neighborhood was in transition. And he had a series of calamities that were definitely signs that he needed to get out of the neighborhood. He had been robbed. He had a flood. He had a number of things happen. And I think the last time that something happened, he was in his back office sitting. He had a nice big design area. He had a group where lots of designers and artists could work. And then his office was tucked away in the corner. And he had these sliding doors, and he was back there late at night working. And he said he heard someone out front, and he knew everyone was gone. And he said, "Oh my goodness, I hope they don't come in here." And you know, he was being robbed. You know, this might scare you folks who come to New York City. It's a little different today. But he took me up to an apartment that he had. He had an apartment up on the Upper West Side. Actually, I'd say Midtown West or so, Theater District. And he showed me the apartment. He said, "Well, what would happen if I just ran my business out of here?" And he said, "I could actually combine these two apartments, and I could run this business out of here." And I looked at the apartment, and I said, "I don't know how your clients would feel coming up here. You know, this is a walk-up. It's even this neighborhood is not really professional." I had no imagination when I looked at this. I didn't really see what he saw. And this was before the work-at-home craze. Well, George decided that he was going to sell that property, and he did, and he moved his business uptown. And when I visited him again, I was astounded at how he had outfitted this apartment and how nice it was and how he had set it up so beautifully to conduct business. And he didn't have any resistance from clients at all. It ultimately was a great move for him. So it's an example of how imagination is something we have to go with, we have to try. And as we do that, we're going to see that it will surprise us, and sometimes it will surprise others. It surprised me, and it was a great lesson for me to learn. And since that time, I have done so many things that I thought might be something that would potentially not work, but I was going to try anyway and see how it would work. And in other cases, I said, "Hey, this just might work. Let me see." And I've been pleasantly surprised time and time again. If you apply your imagination, you respect your imagination, you go for your imagination, you're going to see some incredible things happen for you. Because through your imagination are going to come the very path that will enable you to do those things that are very important to you. And sometimes what seems like just an impulse and something that has no merit is an opening for a wave of inspiration that, when connected to that initial kernel, will blossom in a way that you had not anticipated. If you like this tip, give me a thumbs up. Let me know you liked it. I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please click subscribe. Make sure you share it with someone who will value it and benefit from it. And I will see you next time.